Hi, I want to talk with you in this video lecture about topic sentences in paper 3. Where will these occur? Well, always at the beginning of the explanation. Now, if the explanation is it's part of a larger paragraph that includes the application and the evaluation, then your topic sentence will appear at the beginning of the paragraph. But if you've broken your section up into multiple paragraphs, then the topic sentence will appear at the beginning of the first paragraph, which should be the explanation paragraph. Either way, it's the first sentence and it's connected to the explanation paragraph. On a side note, if you decide to have separate paragraphs, explanation one paragraph, application another paragraph, you won't need a transition between those two. They'll flow pretty logically because the explanation part will be focused on third person and the application will shift to a first person voice that will be a nice signal for your reader and will not leave you with the burden of trying to craft another transition. By the way, application and evaluation, they could be their own paragraph, but they could also be separate paragraphs, depending on how deep you dig. The basic formula, idea from Bain, plus an active verb, plus experience from your life. But the reverse works just as well. I'll start with experience, bring in the active verb, conclude with an idea from Bain. There's 3 concrete examples available to you on the syllabus. I'm not going to read them word for word, so if you want to spend a little more time with them here, click pause and look them over. Notice in bold are either the idea from Bain or the reason. Or the experience. So in the first sentence, idea from Bain, intrinsic motivation. Active verb, offers. Experience, struggles in English 100. Second sentence, the struggles are the experience. They appear in the first part of the sentence. The verb, the active verb is validate, and now Bain's concept of intrinsic motivation appears in the second half of the sentence. Those two sentences reverse each other. They both have strengths and weaknesses. You have to choose what's the best model for you. Finally, the last example here is an attempt to show you how you might use subordination to add some complexity and nuance to a topic sentence. In this case, intrinsic motivation is linked by 2 sets of verbs. One, sounds sensible, which is the verb pair in the introductory subordinate clause, and then in the main clause, the cannot imagine is the verb that creates the linkage to the deep learning experience in English 100, or actually the absence, in the case of this sentence, of a deep learning experience in English 100. Okay, let's look at a topic sentence that's about a claim. In this case, you can see that the claim is a paraphrase of an important idea from the text that Bain discusses. And here, the word supports, the verb supports, links my community college teaching experience with Bain's argument about passion and the happier life that passion can bring you. Let's look at a topic sentence related to a term. In this case, the term is in the second half of the sentence, and the experience is in the first half of the sentence, linked by the verb underscore, but you could flip those and put the idea mindfulness first and some other verb linking it to the experience of poor math scores. So again, the model is the same, but you have to think about different framing language as you decide which of the C-Tech elements you're introducing here. And the goal here is to give you strategies for each of those approaches. Examples can be challenging. I've had a lot of questions about students. How do I frame an example in a topic sentence? You can use a phrase like Bain's discussion, but you could also say Bain's example, Bain's narration of, Bain's description of a particular person. All of those words can work well to set up a topic sentence that's going to be about an example. Again, you've got that active verb in red, reminds, and in this case, taking control of my education. That's the experience I want to talk about. My education here at Miracosta, and how the Murphy example reminds me I want to take better control of it. Finally, we've got a quote. The last letter in C-Tech is Q for quote. And quotes can be tricky to set up, and you already have worked your quote into your explanation. So we don't want the actual quote in the topic sentence. Instead, we want to paraphrase a brief summary of the quote. So here you can see the quote is described as discussing the impact of social forces on learning. So that's not the exact quote. It's a sort of summary of what the quote's going to be about. because after this topic sentence, then I'm going to have my sentence where I set up and integrate and comment on the actual quote. So this sentence is just an overlay, something you put in front of the explanation, application, evaluation of a quote that you've already generated. And again, we can see the black parts that highlight the idea from Bain and the experience with the red active verbs in between, linking them. I thought it would be interesting for you to see in this case what the actual quote I was describing was. Now, if this were a real full paragraph, I would have sentences that set up that quote and broke it up into smaller chunks and analyzed it a bit, right? I don't want to plop a quote right in after a topic sentence, but I did plop the quote in here so you could see it and understand what I was trying to summarize in the topic sentence. So let's do a quick summary here. First of all, it's not written on here, but we want to remember that our topic sentence comes at the beginning of our explanation section. We want to remember the formula, Bain active verb plus experience, or the reverse, experience plus active verb plus Bain idea. We want to think about maybe playing around with some subordination. That can be a tool, especially if you are ambivalent or have mixed feelings about an idea from Bain. The tricky thing here is to strike a balance in your sentences. You want to have enough info about the Bain idea and your experience, but not too much info about Bain and your experience. So you want to compress it, summarize it so that it's understandable, but you also don't want the sentence to go on forever. So it's a real balancing act here, and that's the art form. And that's why I suggest you go back and review some of these different examples while you're actually working on your paper. So I encourage you to download the PowerPoint without the narration, which is available in Blackboard, and use that as a tool while you're crafting your own sentences. And finally, topic sentences are fantastic material for text and emails. Just send me a quick text, hey Jim, does this topic sentence work? And I can text right back, or a quick email. It's really easy and productive and helpful to run topic sentences by me. I hope these ideas help, and I'll see you out there in the course.